What is going on, everybody? Today we are going to be looking at Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. So this book is actually a compilation of his podcasts, and these are big name people that he was interviewing, and he kind of looks at the most important things from these different interviews, from his favorite interviews, and compiles it down into one book. So I initially listened to this book, which did bring a lot of benefit to me, but I actually got the hard copy here because I want to be able to go through the different individual chapters. They're quick, short, 1 to 2 to 3 pages to be able to pull out all this information. This is probably the most beneficial information packed into any one book that I've ever seen. It's divided up into 3 sections, the first one being health, second one being financial, and then the third one being kind of like wisdom, your motivation, and your why for working hard and for doing the things that are talked about in this book. So I'm just going to hit you guys with the key takeaways that I found most impactful from the 3 different sections of the book. So diving right in, health, the main things that he talked about and some stuff that I want to actually try to implement in my life and would probably be useful in yours was meditation and intermittent fasting. So I found this very interesting. He said that of the people he interviewed, over 80%, and these are top tier athletes, generals, Arnold Schwarzenegger was in this book, that over 80% of them have some form of meditation practice. So whether that be spirituality, like prayer, or just your stereotypical, kind of sitting and meditating, that 80% of the people in this book had some form of meditation. And meditation brings lots of positive benefits. Your stress is reduced. You're able to interact better with the people around you because you're more present, and there's scores of other benefits. But it's something that I definitely want to try and add into my morning routine and try and get some of those benefits, and then maybe also the sleep-related benefits. The second thing that he was a big proponent of in this book is a ketogenic diet, or what he calls a slow-carb diet. So he does say that some carbs are good. Obviously, he's not a doctor or anything, but he does interview quite a few MDs and PhDs and people who are researching this stuff. And also that mixed in with intermittent fasting is something that he feels and that these people that he has interviewed feel that is very beneficial and important to health. So obviously, that's a pretty controversial thing, but I think that if you're struggling with your energy, it might be worth a try to try out some other diets, but obviously I'm not a doctor, so don't take my advice on that. But research it for yourself, and it's a very popular diet, reducing carbs, and lots of people have seen significant benefits in it. So the second section of the book was all about finances. I really enjoyed this section because he took a very different approach. He's actually an angel investor, which means that he's investing in startup companies. Now, for most people, this isn't an option. You have to have a certain amount of financial wealth to dive in and start angel investing. But it was interesting to learn about that. But then he obviously interviewed a ton of successful people who have made it when it comes to finances. Many of the people he talked to were millionaires, and some were even billionaires. What I really found interesting about this book is Tim takes a different approach, and I think that a lot of really successful, really rich people take a more higher thinking approach when it comes to finances. So a lot of the advice you hear is work, take that money, invest it, and by the time you retire, you're going to have millions of dollars. And that is true, or at least it historically has been true. But what Tim looks for, and what I also saw Tony Robbins and a few other really successful people, they look for situations where you're risking your money, but you're risking it for so much higher of a gain. So when you invest in a stock, if that stock does well, it goes up 10, 20% each year, and you could make a lot of money. Same thing with real estate. But what these really successful people are looking for is they're looking for an investment that is going to be able to make 5 times as much in that year, or 10 times as much. And this is something that Warren Buffett does. You actually prepare and you research much more than the amount of time you actually spend buying and investing. So if you look at Warren Buffett, he might wait years to make an investment, but then when he does make that one decision, that one investment, it is, that's why he's the best investor ever. It's that great of an investment because he's putting in a lot of time. The other thing that he talks about a lot, which is very Tim Ferriss, if you've ever read the 4-Hour Workweek, he talks about, wealth isn't only financial. And a lot of these people, even if they are extremely wealthy, they talk about how the many forms of wealth, and one of those is freedom. And obviously in the 4-Hour Workweek, Tim talks a lot about different ways to utilize and leverage your time so that you might be making $50,000 a year, but if your expenses are really low and you're only working 10 hours a week, aren't you more rich than someone who's making $1 million a year but works all the time, never sees their family? And so he has a lot of different tips and tricks that he talks about from these really successful people on how to put yourself in a situation where your time is worth a lot more and you aren't necessarily trading time for money, but that you kind of have money working for you and on your own. So the biggest individual tip that I could pull from the financial section would be to really take your time and to think differently. Yes, you might be graduating college and everyone else is going to get a job at $40 or $50 or $60,000 a year, and that seems great, but what if you could accept a job at $40,000 but then move to Mexico? You get to explore the world, you get to do something totally different, and the cost of living is so cheap there that you're saving $30,000 a year and you're relatively rich. So that's the kind of just outside of the box thinking when it comes to financial decisions. Obviously, it could be a huge entrepreneurial type of thinking, and maybe you could start a business and you might spend years where you're not making that much and then suddenly it takes off. But the biggest advice that Tim and these amazing people that he interviewed seemed to give was to think outside the box, to think differently, and also to do something you love, because you're not going to be able to work at something for a very long period of time if you don't genuinely enjoy it. So the third section of the book was wisdom, and this was talking about motivation and your why, and really how are you going to enjoy your life. Yes, you may be healthy and you may be rich, but what is that happiness, the enjoyment? And what I really found to be the number one thing that spoke to me, and I think the number one thing that a lot of people our age could really benefit from, is that you find happiness when you're doing the right thing. There's a lot of people who are very successful who are compromising their values. And when you are in line with your values, whatever those may be, whether those are based on a religion or based on your own personal decisions, when you're in line with your values, your body is healthier, your mind is healthier, and you're genuinely more happy. And I think that a lot of young people, we struggle because we don't necessarily have those values concretely set in our lives. And that's something that we need to think about more. What is really important to us? Are we doing these things because our parents said this? And why are we making these decisions? And to really think about what is the driving factor in our lives and to line up our actions with that. And that is what can genuinely produce a lot more happiness. Of course, there's lots of little things you can do, coming back again to meditation, treating other people well. These are all things that you would think about when you think about a good, well-rounded person, that these people are genuinely happy because they're making positive differences in the world in an area that they're passionate about. So I think that the final section kind of ties the first two in. Obviously, your health is incredibly important, and then you become financially successful, but those two things have to be kind of driven by this question, this why are you doing this? And there's tons of great information on this, but it's really something you have to come up with on your own. And yes, you can have mentors and religious texts and all these things and that can help you, but you really have to decide why you're here and try and make all of your actions fall in line with that. And then you will be a congruent person. One of the quotes I think from this book, and I'm probably misquoting it a little, but it said that a lot of mental health issues come when your actions are not aligned with your beliefs, and that it kind of causes this paradigm split in your personality. And obviously this is not scientifically proven, but it is a hypothesis that one of these really successful people was putting forward. So the last little section I want to have here is to talk about who should read this book. And honestly, this is one of the most well-rounded books that I've ever seen. Because it is a compilation of podcasts, it's not a normal book. So I think that everyone could benefit from certain sections within this book. Whether you're on your financial track and you're like, yes, I'm doing great. I just got a $100,000 job offer and I'm 20 years old, I'm going to be rich. Or you're halfway through college and you have no idea what you want to do. I think there's a lot to learn in the financial section, the health section, whether you're someone who has it all figured out in health and is, meditating and sleeping well and eating healthy. There's going to be some section in there that's going to speak to you and be able to bring you benefit. There's lots about sleep. There's lots about breathing. And then I think that why section is going to be very good, especially for young people. We're trying to figure it out, and we have to experience a different life than our parents did, and even than our friends do. And so with all the craziness going on this year, I think that there's been a real highlight of the struggles that people go through spiritually and mentally when the world is all mixed up and everything is so different and difficult. Tried to mix them there. And I think that this final section on wisdom and the why that you're here could be very beneficial. So all in all, I think that anyone is going to benefit from this book, but I think that final section, and all three sections, but especially the final section, would be wonderful to anyone who's just trying to figure it out in life. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm glad you spent 15 or so minutes with me today, and it's been a long time, but as you know, if reading is knowledge and knowledge is power, then reading is power. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.